Vande Devamumapatim Suragurum Vande Jagatkaranam Vande Pannagabhushanam Mrigamadam Vande Pashunam Patim Vande Surya Shashanka Vanhinayanam Vande Mukunda Priyam Vande Bhakta Janashrayam Cha Varadam Vande Shivam Shankaram Vande Bhakta Janashrayam Cha Varadam Vande Shivam Shankaram. Namaskaram to everybody. Continuing with our introduction to Lingastakam, the 8 verses dedicated in the worship of the Linga, the symbol of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's symbol is looked upon as the Linga. Lingyate anena iti lingam, by which it is indicated, by which a thing is indicated. And so, like for example, in a faraway mountain which is on fire, you don't see the fire, you see the smoke. And you infer there is fire. Why? Because without smoke there is no fire. And therefore the smoke, you see only smoke, you don't see fire, but the smoke becomes a lingam, a symbol indicating the presence of fire. The smoke is a symbol, a lingam, through which you arrive at the presence of fire. That is called a lingam, a symbol through which indicates the presence of something else connected to it. And so here in the tradition, it's a very, very ancient form of worship where the lingam, which is nothing but the whole universe of all forms put in, collapsing in, melting down in one form, a formless form. That formless form is said to be lingam, which includes all forms. And so all forms in their dissolved state, in their resolved state, is called a lingam. And so it indicates that lingam, that form, indicates none other than the cosmic being. Indicates none other than the cosmic being. And there are visualizations of this formless form and expressions such as Akasham lingamityahuhu Prithvi tasya pithika Alayam sarvadevanam layanam lingam uchyate. So this, where the dome is the skies is the dome, the top portion of the lingam, and the earth is the basis, the substratum of the lingam. The earth holds the dome. The two are symbolize lingam, which is the abode of all powers of the universe. Sarvadevanam alayam. It is, this whole thing is, the whole universe is the abode of all the powers of the universe. And it is in this form that every form resolves. Layanam lingam uchyate. And so, linga is the entire universe. The divine in this tradition is not merely looked upon as a creator, an intelligent cause sitting elsewhere, away from the planet, away from the cosmos, but in this Vedic tradition, the divine is said to be transcendent. Of course, it is transcendent, but it is immanent. It is immanent means it has its presence in the creation. The being is not only transcendent, he is transcendent, of course, because he is beyond the forms and therefore he is the formless, he is transcendent. But when you say he is immanent, he is also in and through the forms. Nothing moves in this creation without his decision. Nothing happens in this world without his blessing it, without his presence. And therefore, here when we say the Lord, the Creator, it is the intelligent cause and the material cause. He is the formless and the form. He is the Shiva and Shakti. Both together is called Lingam. He is the higher nature and the lower nature. Shakti is considered to be the lower nature. Shakti means that which is evolved in time, with time, that which has manifested as creation. That phenomenon of manifestation is called Shakti. And Shakti is also remains unseen at a subtle level. Shakti means power. Remains unseen at the subtle level and makes its presence felt through the names and forms of the universe. And so here Lingam represents both Shiva and Shakti, or intelligent and material cause of the universe. And so here we saw, to this cosmic being, if we were to come up with a form for worship, what would that form be? Well, that form would be this Lingam, a very, very ancient form of worship. And this, when you come to relate to that form and you engage yourself in relationship with that form as a cosmic being, then we have been given 3 forms of worship. I mentioned yesterday Kayika, Vachika and Manasa Puja. Worship with the help of your limbs, worship with just your voice apparatus, and worship purely mentally. This is the 3 levels of worship. Where is this given? That worship needs to be in this manner. Well, in the Vedic tradition we have what we call in the Veda based a certain sutra literature called Shrauta Sutras are there, and we have Kalpa Sutras, and we have what we call Yajnas. This is the Vedic, there is a Vedic lineage, and based on the Vedic lineage we have other literature called the Smritis. Smritis are other literature given to us by rishis, while Veda is a revelation from the divine directly. The Smriti is the literature which is given to us by authors. They may be sages, but it is authored by individuals. That literature is called Smriti literature. And we have many Smarta Sutras. The first is Shrauta Sutras. This is Smarta Sutras, Puranas, Itihasas, Grihya Sutras. All these are different literature where this form of worship has been given to us for thousands of years. The third form of literature is called Agama literature. It's very beautiful. Your reverence for worship through pujas will grow when you recognize how ancient it is and how much literature has been given to us at a time when people could not write. There was no writing, there was no paper, there was no print, there were no computers. They gave us, they held this knowledge. Traditions were held by the sages, by the Vedic schools, and handed down generation by generation until it has reached us. We have great reverence for the puja traditions of this land. And the third type of literature I said is called Agama, Agama Shastra. Agama Shastra is different types of Agama. We have Shaiva Agama, which is connected to Shiva, Lord Shiva. We have Vaishnava Agama, which is forms of worship given to us for Lord Vishnu. We have Shakta Agama, where forms of worship is given for the goddess, the universal goddess. We have Ganapatyam, where the Ganapatya Agama, where worship given for Lord Ganesha. We have Kaumara Agama, forms of worship for Lord Subramanya. And we have Saurya Agama, worship for Lord Sun. And so the three main agamas which are practiced in this culture today are connected to Lord Shiva, connected to Lord Vishnu, and connected to the goddess, the universal goddess. These are the three very strong agama traditions that give you the method of worship. And here you find the simplest of simplest worship done. There are steps. In every worship there are steps. So we have 5-step worship. That is the simplest one, is the 5-step called Panchopachara Puja, 5-step worship. Or you can have 10-step worship, Dashopachara Puja, 10 steps. Or you can have 16-step worship, or you can have 64-step worship. At homes, people can do either 5-step, 10-step, or 16 steps. Don't even dream of attempting 64 steps. If you are very keen on doing 64 steps, you have to go and live in the temples of India. Then from morning till night, from waking till sleep, you can do all day puja, 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 rest of your life. But at homes, it is 5, 10 and 16 steps. When we say 5 steps, why 5? I don't know why 5, but I know this much. 5 steps refer to, we connect the 5 steps to the 5 elements. 5 elements. And so in offering to the Lord, the first element is space. And what do you offer? Because the 5 elements is what makes up the manifest creation. The manifest creation is nothing but the 5 elements that we see, we hear, we smell, we taste, we touch. And therefore, the divine being in the form of the universe, how would you worship? You use the very universe to worship the Lord. It is like, you go to meet your beloved and go to see her in her home, and when you are entering the house and in her garden you see a beautiful rose, and you pick that rose and then offer it to her. Very clever. It is her own rose that you offer it to her. This is precisely what we do. When we offer incense and flowers and lamp and so on, is it something that you created from your stomach? It is already part of the creation. And so Bhagavan's, the divinity's own creation, we take a few tools because we want to express our devotion. Where else are we going to go except move in the creation that we find ourselves in, and then use some of the special tools to make our offering. And so, representing Akasha, space, we offer flowers. Representing wind, air, as the second element, we offer incense. Incense, because you can see the movement of the incense due to air, is it not? Representing fire, the natural element, fire, we offer deepam. We light a lamp and you offer the candle light. And representing apaha or waters, we offer some food, something which is nourishing, the essence of life, that is water and food. And finally, we offer a sandal paste. Sandal represents fragrance, and that is represented by Mother Earth, the fifth element, the fragrance. And so these 5 elements, to cover which we have these 5 tools, flowers and dhupam, incense, flame, deepam, naivedyam, food or fruits or nuts, and fragrance. These are the 5 elements represented by these 5 items that are offered to the divine as a 5-step worship. You can be more elaborate, you can go 16 steps. There are a few more things in the 16 steps called Padyam, Argyam, Achamanniyam, Madhuparkam, Karpura Nirajanam. So these things get added on. Let's not worry about all that. I am just giving you an idea why we do these pujas, and there is so much. This is something little that we know, but there is so much in there that we don't even know. These traditions are so ancient. We don't know the sensitivity of our ancestors, how much more they drew from their powers of their pujas. We don't know. And so, Panchopachara Puja, Dashopachara Puja, Shodashopachara Puja, and Chatushashti Upachara Puja. 5, 10, 16 and 64. And these pujas that we offer, the question is, we offer to who? Well, we offer to the divine, who's symbolized, who's indicated by this form. And a form can be anthropomorphic. Okay, it's a big name. Anthropomorphic form or aniconic form. Anthropomorphic form is a form of the divine which has human features, having a human form. And here we have different types of forms. Forms which remain in one place, like in the temple. A form remains in one place, and in the temple traditions, we also have a second form which moves, which is taken around the village or the town. So this is called Mula Vigraha, and the other is called Utsava Vigraha. And this covers those elderly people who cannot go to the temple. Well, the Lord, the Divine Himself is brought out in a procession and taken around, and every home He passes, people offer their worship. It's a culture. It's a sacred culture. And so these forms of expression, forms of devotion and worship is integrated into day-to-day life. Here you cannot ask, oh, so the divine also will walk through your streets, is it? This is silly. I don't even think these silly questions need any answer except a silly answer. And I'm not a silly person to give silly answers, and so I simply ignore such silly questions. This is integrated into the culture that the divinity, when you can't go, the divinity comes to you, the Lord comes to your doorstep. It's beautiful. And so we have two types of forms. One is called Mula Vigraham, which stays put in the temple. Once installed, it remains there once and for all. And the other form is the one that moves in a procession. And we have different forms representing different energies, different calling, different needs that the cosmic being fulfills. As a seeker, for me, a form of the Lord which is most beautiful and attractive, whose grace we need always, is Lord Dakshinamurti. This is called a Yoga Murti. Lord as a yogi. Lord as a yogi, a Yoga Murti. Lord Shiva is a Yoga Murti. Because He takes you towards a life that takes you towards the source. The natural flow of nature it moves away from the source, like a river, moves away from the source, and it meanders east, west, south, different directions. And when you meander towards the source, then you are moving towards a guidance of a guru to awaken to your essence, your essential self. And that is the reason why in India, wherever the river is moving away in its meanderings, when it turns, in its meanderings, when it turns towards its source, in other words, whenever it turns north, north is looked upon as the source. That space, that area which is covered around, inside that turn is considered sacred, very, very sacred. That's exactly how Rishikesh became sacred. That's where Ganga turns towards the source, towards the north. That is how Uttarkashi is sacred, very clear-cut turn that you see. And in Uttarkashi, my ashram in this little village called Netala is very sacred too. Why? Because the river exactly turns north over there. Right where the ashram is, it cuts into the northern direction. Well, That's why it's so thrilling to go and do your penance, your meditations there. It supports, somehow nature supports those sacred sites. And so here, Yoga Murti is that form of the Lord that takes you towards the source, Lord Shiva, Dakshinamurti. Bhoga Murti is said to be Lakshmi Narayana. Bhoga is when you move away from the source, when you remain with the nature, when you go through the normal rhythms of life and seeking wealth, prosperity, success, and so on and so forth, you also worship, don't you? And worship of a form which nurtures that is said to be Bhoga Murti, like Sri Rama Parivara. Sri Rama, Sita Devi, Lakshmana, Hanumanji. There is a family of deities, and that image we worship. The Lord as a family man, the Lord as an ascetic, the Lord as a guru. Veera Murti is another Murti, another form to show fearlessness, courage, and that is a form of Durga. Goddess Durga, Nataraja, Lord Shiva is a dancer, is a form of power and fearlessness, courage. Hanumanji. We have forms which are fierce, like Mahakali, called Ugra Murti, Narsimha Devata, Mahakali. These are all forms that have been given to us in the tradition, which people worship to cross fears. People worship for help. And here we have taken one thematic, a form of worship that we undertook in this series on the power of prayers, and that is to Lord Shiva as a yoga murti. O Lord, please bring in us wisdom, bring into us detachment, bring into us healing. You are a healer. You are the one who burns desires, karmas, bad karmas. Thus, all our invocations, if you have noticed, they are all for Lord Shiva as a yoga murti. And this is what we call the anthropomorphic form of worship. The second form of worship is Aniconic Multis. Aniconic Multis means they don't have a specific form. And they deal with these forms, the divine as manifest in the landscape of the earth. Certain phenomenons where in the very landscape of the earth there is some powers felt, like Mount Kailash. They are called physiomorphic forms. Like Mount Kailash, like certain rivers, like the hills, like Ganga, like Narmada, like Godavari, like Kaveri. These rivers, which is part of the landscape, they are all associated with the sacred, or even gems and stones connected to certain sacred sites which grow they are only found in those sites, or some stones which are found in certain specific rivers. Those specific stones, those specific sites, those specific hills, those specific mountains become sacred, and your connection with the cosmic formless being comes to you through these visual forms. And so these forms of prayers are also there. The traditional form of worship called Panchayatana Puja, Adityam Ambikam Vishnum Gananatha Maheshwaram. These 5 deities are worshipped: the sun god, the goddess, the universal goddess, Lord Vishnu, the sustainer of this creation, Lord Shiva, in whom the entire creation stands resolved, and Lord Ganesha. These 5 deities are kept as one altar, and the one that you're most drawn to takes the center position of the altar, and like this we have a Panchayatana Puja. At homes, people have both. They have a specific stone that represents that deity, and they also have a form of the deity which has been visualized by the rishis, the sages. In their meditations, in their visions, they have seen these forms. These forms have been given to us in an age-old tradition. And therefore, both the type of forms, whether it is human form or from nature you pick certain specific forms which have some associations, that forms the altar of worship at home. I shall describe in some more detail each of these stones, what they are, where they are picked from and why, and how they became, Shaligrama became the stone for Lord Vishnu, Banalinga became the stone for Lord Shiva, and so on and so forth. We will look into the cosmic being as a lingam and the associated, whatever I can include in this for better clarity and reverence. You are never worshipping a form, you're always worshipping the cosmic being through a form. And therefore the forms themselves gain a reverence. And unless in my heart I discover that reverence for these forms of worship, it is difficult to create an altar and connect your sentiment of devotion at that altar. And hence we spend some more time in elaborating forms of worship so that somewhere my soul connects to a form and my devotion can pour forth. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.